One last note about solving absolute value equations. Remember that the absolute value of a negative number equals a positive, and the absolute value of a positive number equals a positive. Notice how neither one of these are negative numbers. That's because an absolute value can never equal a negative number. So if you see an equation like this, the absolute value of x plus 5 equals a negative 11, then your answer is simply no solution. And it's no solution because an absolute value can never equal a negative number. Let's look at another one. Here we have the absolute value of x plus 2 plus 10 equals 3. So far it looks good. But before we can drop our absolute value symbols and make two equations, we have to get the absolute value by itself. We do that by subtracting 10 from both sides of the equation. And we get the absolute value of x plus 2 equals a negative 7. Now, because we know the absolute value can never equal a negative answer, then we know our answer to this equation is no solution. And we simply move on to the next one. Here we have the negative 3 times an absolute value of x minus 4 equals negative 6. This equals a negative number. However, we still have this negative 3 being multiplied to the absolute value. And before we can make a judgment, we need to divide both sides by negative 3 and get the absolute value of x minus 4 by itself. Here we see that the absolute value of x minus 4 equals a positive 2. And because this is a positive number, we can then drop our absolute value symbols and make two equations, a positive equation and a negative equation. From here, we add 4 to both sides of the positive equation and get x equals 6. We add 4 to both sides of the negative equation and get x equals 2. So what you might have thought was no solution actually gave us two solutions. So be very careful before you jump the gun to no solution. One last example. Here we have negative 2 times the absolute value of x minus 4 plus 8 equals 10. Before we can drop our absolute value symbols, we need to get the absolute value by itself. We start off by subtracting 8 from both sides of the equation, and we get 2 times the absolute value of x minus 7 equals 2. We divide both sides by negative 2, and we get the absolute value of x minus 7 equals a negative 1. Because an absolute value equals a negative number, our answer is no solution. So remember this option when you do your homework and on tests, but also remember to make sure that the absolute value is by itself before you decide that there is no solution.